A man on crutches falls near Barron Trump. His quick response leaves everyone amazed. Barron Trump stood beside an elderly man, struggling with his cane. In that fleeting moment, everything changed. A swift action from Barron caused those around him to pause and take notice. His gesture was not just about helping a stranger, it carried a deeper, more profound message. Have you ever considered how a small act of kindness could change someone's life? What happens when simple compassion leads to an unexpected outcome? Don't miss this surprising conclusion, it will leave you moved. The story begins. On a warm afternoon in New York City, the bustling streets were filled with hurried pedestrians, each lost in their own world. Among the crowd, a man with crutches, his face etched with exhaustion, carefully made his way across the sidewalk. He was Mr. Grayson, a retired teacher who had suffered a leg injury in an accident. Not far away, Barron Trump, the son of a famous figure, was leaving a hotel with his security team. The tall young man, often shielded from the chaos of celebrity life, walked calmly as photographers snapped pictures from afar. The crowd murmured in recognition, but Barron paid no attention. Suddenly, a sharp thud echoed, cutting through the noise. Mr. Grayson had stumbled on a small crack in the sidewalk, his crutch slipping from his grasp as his body fell forward with a painful groan. Bystanders froze, unsure of what to do. In that moment, something unexpected happened. Despite being blocked by his bodyguards, Barron stepped out from behind their protective shield and rushed to Mr. Grayson's side. The guards hesitated, unsure of whether to stop him. "Are you okay, sir?" Barron's calm voice broke the silence, his eyes filled with concern. The crowd began to gather, but no one could anticipate what would unfold next. Mr. Grayson winced as he tried to sit up, but his leg ached too much. I think I twisted it," he muttered, his voice trembling. Barron knelt beside him, ignoring the growing crowd. "Don't move," he said gently, his voice steady despite the surrounding chaos. He signaled to the guards. "Get water and call for an ambulance." The guards hesitated but followed his orders. Meanwhile, Barron placed a hand on Mr. Grayson's shoulder, offering reassurance. "You're not alone, I'm here." The crowd murmured as some pulled out their phones to capture the moment. It wasn't every day that someone like Barron Trump stepped out of his privileged life to help a stranger. Tears streamed down Mr. Grayson's face as he whispered, "You don't have to stop for me." Barron smiled softly. "Everyone deserves kindness. Let me make sure you're okay." Mr. Grayson's crutch was found, but Barron stayed. He remained by Mr. Grayson's side, keeping him steady, talking to him as if they had known each other for years. The air was thick with emotion, and the crowd watched in stunned silence. When the paramedics arrived, tears began to appear on the faces of many in the crowd, not from the fall or the pain, but from the simple yet profound act of humanity that Barron had shown. As the paramedics prepared to lift Mr. Grayson onto the stretcher, Barron stayed by his side, making sure he was safe before leaving. "Thank you," Mr. Grayson said, his voice choked with emotion. "Not everyone would do what you did." Barron shook his head. "It's the least I can do. I hope you recover soon." As the ambulance doors closed, Mr. Grayson looked at Barron one last time. "You're not just a star, you're a good person." The crowd erupted in applause, but Barron appeared uncomfortable with the attention. He gave a small nod and turned away. Before he could walk off, a young boy from the crowd ran up to him. "You're my hero," the boy said, his voice quiet but resonant in the stillness of the street. Barron crouched down to the boy's level, smiling. "You can be a hero too, just be kind." The crowd cheered louder, and Barron's security team quickly ushered him back to the car. But the moment lingered in the air, leaving everyone deeply moved. As the ambulance drove away, the street fell into an eerie quiet, the bystanders standing still in the aftermath, shocked by Barron Trump's unexpected act of kindness. Whispers spread among them. Barron's security team's voices were low but filled with urgency. "Sir, we need to leave. This situation is becoming a security risk," one of them said firmly. Barron glanced at the crowd, his expression unchanged. "Give me a moment," he said calmly, his voice steady but resolute. He turned back to the crowd and spoke, "Thank you for being here and supporting him. Let's all try to be kinder to one Another. His words, though simple, carried a weight that moved the people around him. As the car door closed, applause broke out. A woman in the crowd wiped away tears and said loudly, "In a world so divided, this young man reminded us of what it means to be human." Inside the car, Barron stared out the window, lost in thought. The image of Mr. Grayson falling kept replaying in his mind. His heart felt heavy, yet there was a quiet sense of peace, a silent purpose. Barron had no idea that someone in the crowd had captured the entire event. The video, less than 2 minutes long, was a powerful and emotional recording. It showed Mr. Grayson's fall, Barron's quick response, and their heartfelt conversation. Within hours, the video had been posted on social media with the title, "Barron Trump's act of kindness will melt your heart." It spread rapidly, shared by people all over the world, accompanied by captions such as, "This is what humanity looks like," and "A small act that says it all." However, Barron was unaware of the video. He spent the entire evening in his room, thinking about Mr. Grayson. Was he okay? Did he need more help? The next morning, Barron's phone buzzed nonstop. Messages from friends, family, and even strangers flooded in. His name was trending on every platform. "Barron, you need to see this," one of his bodyguards said, handing him a tablet. As Barron watched the video, his heart raced. The comments below were overwhelming, touching him deeply. "This guy restored my faith in humanity. We need more people like Barron Trump." But not all messages were positive. Some questioned his motives, suggesting he was just seeking attention. Barron's face hardened as he handed the tablet back. "I didn't do it for them," he said quietly. "I did it because it was the right thing to do." That same morning, as Barron was preparing for a quiet breakfast, a bodyguard handed him an envelope. "This was delivered for you earlier," he said. Barron opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a handwritten letter from Mr. Grayson. "Dear Barron, I don't know how to thank you for what you did yesterday. I have spent most of my life feeling invisible, as if no one could see me, but you saw me. You cared when no one else did. You reminded me that even in the darkest moments, there are people who can light the way. What you did wasn't small to me, it was everything I've been struggling with, not just because of my injury, but because life hasn't been easy for me lately. But yesterday, you gave me hope, and I will always be grateful for that." Tears welled up in Barron's eyes as he finished reading. He folded the letter carefully and placed it in his pocket. In that moment, he realized something. Kindness, no matter how small, had the power to change lives. What he didn't know was that this was just the beginning of a story that would touch millions of hearts. As the video of Barron's act of kindness continued to spread, it sparked mixed reactions. While many praised his compassion, others doubted his motives. "It's all for the camera," one comment read. "He didn't even know he was being filmed," another person responded. Barron's security team grew uneasy as the attention continued to rise. "Sir, we recommend you make a statement to clarify your intentions. This could affect your family's public image," one of the bodyguards suggested. But Barron shook his head. "I don't need to explain. Actions speak for themselves," he said firmly. Behind the scenes, Barron couldn't shake the nagging feeling of doubt that clung to him. Were they only seeing me through my name? He recalled Mr. Grayson's gaze, not judgment, but gratitude. That was what truly mattered. Then something unexpected happened. A social media post by a young boy suddenly went viral. The post read, "Barron Trump inspired me to help my neighbor who fell today. We all can be like him if we choose to care." The post received thousands of likes, sparking a movement to perform small, compassionate acts. Barron's simple gesture was quietly changing lives, while the world continued to debate his actions. Meanwhile, Mr. Grayson sat in a small hospital room, bathed in dim light. His leg was in a cast, his mind heavy. He held a sketchbook filled with faded drawings, remnants of a life long past. Mr. Grayson had once been a talented artist in his youth. His paintings were admired, and his career was full of promise. But life had been cruel. He lost his wife to cancer, his son in a tragic accident. He fell into deep depression. The accident that left him using crutches was the final blow. He felt as though the world had forgotten him, that he was just an invisible face in the crowd. But Barron's kindness sparked a flame within him. For the first time in years, he felt seen. He pulled out his sketchbook and began to draw again. This time, it was a portrait of Barron helping him stand up, a moment frozen in time. Tears streamed down his face as he drew, whispering to himself, "Maybe kindness really can heal." What Mr. Grayson didn't know was that his drawings were about to become part of a much bigger story than he could ever have imagined. 2 days after the incident, Barron couldn't stop thinking about Mr. Grayson. He needed to know if he was okay. Despite his security team's objections, Barron decided to visit him. The guards arranged a discreet meeting at the hospital, ensuring that everything would remain confidential. When Barron arrived, Mr. Grayson was stunned, his eyes wide and his voice trembling. "You came back?" Barron smiled warmly. "I wanted to make sure you were all right. You've been on my mind." Mr. Grayson was moved. "No one has cared like this before," he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "You don't know what this means to me." The older man hesitated for a moment before handing Barron the drawing he had made. "I don't have much, but I drew this for you," he said. Barron's eyes welled up as he gazed at the drawing. It was perfect, simple but full of emotion. This is incredible." "Thank you," he said, his voice catching. That moment was quietly captured by one of Barron's bodyguards, who stood at the corner of the room, unaware that this photo would later be shared online, adding another layer to the story that had already touched the hearts of people around the world. The drawing Mr. Grayson gave Barron became something he couldn't take his eyes off. That evening, Barron sat in his room, holding the drawing under the soft light of his desk lamp. The intense emotion in the drawing made his heart ache in a way he couldn't quite describe. It wasn't just a painting, it was a story, the story of struggle, of pain, and a moment of light breaking through the darkness. Barron thought about Mr. Grayson, his tired eyes, trembling hands, and the silent gratitude of a man who seemed forgotten by the world. This drawing was his voice. Barron decided to show it to his mother. "Mom," he said, holding up the drawing, "this is from the man I helped." Melania Trump stared at the drawing for a long while. Her expression softened. "Barron, this is a beautiful painting. You made a difference to him. Can you see how much this means to him?" Barron nodded, but his heart was heavy. "I want to help him more. It feels like he needs more than just that moment." His mother smiled, placing her hand on his shoulder. "Then do what your heart tells you, Barron. Sometimes, the smallest acts create the biggest waves." Barron didn't know that his next decision would silence the world. That night, Barron couldn't sleep. His mind kept drifting back to Mr. Grayson and the quiet pain in his eyes. That man deserved more than just a simple thank you. He deserved a second chance at life. The next morning, Barron called his father's assistant and asked for help. "I want to know everything about Mr. Grayson," he said. "Where does he live? What does he do? What does he need?" Within hours, Barron knew the full story. Mr. Grayson had once been a successful artist, but tragedy had taken everything from him. The loss of his wife, his son, and his health had left him living in a small, cramped apartment, barely able to get by. Barron's heart ached as he read the report. He couldn't imagine carrying such immense pain. He knew he had to act. That afternoon, Barron met with the family's charity team. "I want to sponsor Mr. Grayson," he declared. "I want him to have a place to stay, medical care, and everything he needs to start painting again." The team was surprised but moved by his determination. "Are you sure, Barron?" one member asked. "Yes," Barron replied resolutely. "He's given me something I will never forget. Now it's my turn to do the same." The following week, Barron invited Mr. Grayson to a private event. Mr. Grayson, still using crutches, hesitated. "Why would someone like you care about someone like me?" he whispered to himself. When he arrived, he was greeted by Barron and a small group of people. The room was filled with easels, canvases, and painting supplies, all brand new. "This is for you," Barron smiled. "You said you were once an artist. I want you to start again." Tears welled up in Mr. Grayson's eyes as he looked around. "I don't know what to say. No one has ever done something like this for me," he stammered. Barron stepped forward. "You don't need to say anything. Just promise me one thing. Keep creating. Your art can change lives. Mr. Grayson hugged Barron tightly, his tears soaking into the young boy's shoulder. For the first time in years, he felt hope. The event was captured by one of Barron's bodyguards, who later posted it online. Soon after, the internet exploded with admiration. Barron's kindness had sparked a wave, but the story wasn't over. A video of Barron's act spread rapidly. The media quickly picked it up, social media exploded, and hashtags like Barron's kindness and Grayson's art became global trends. People couldn't stop discussing the simplicity and sincerity of his actions. For Barron, the attention was overwhelming. I didn't do this for the cameras, he told his parents. I just wanted to help him. But for Mr. Grayson, that kindness had changed his life. In a follow-up video shared by Barron's charity, Mr. Grayson spoke about his journey for the first time. I lost everything, he said, his voice choked with emotion. I thought the world had forgotten me. But then this young man reminded me that I still matter. Viewers around the world were moved, tears streaming down their faces. Strangers began donating to support Mr. Grayson's art and medical needs, and messages of encouragement poured in, reminding him that he was no longer alone. Meanwhile, Barron quietly began planning his next surprise. This isn't just for Mr. Grayson, he said to his mother. It's for anyone who feels invisible. I want to do more. However, not everyone was happy about Barron's newfound attention. Trouble was brewing behind the scenes. As Barron's act of kindness gained global attention, criticism started to surface. Some accused him of using the situation for fame, while others questioned the authenticity of the video. It's just a publicity stunt, one commentator wrote online. It's all PR. Barron was hurt by these comments. Why are they saying this? He asked his father. I didn't ask for anything from all of this. Donald Trump, known for his strong opinions, sat down with his son. Barron, the world is always full of doubters, but don't let them define you. You know the truth, focus on that. Though his father's advice helped him find some stability, Barron couldn't shake the sense of insecurity. He feared that the negativity would overshadow the good he was trying to do. Mr. Grayson noticed Barron's hesitation during a meeting. Don't let the noise affect you, he said gently. People will always talk, but what matters is your actions. You've given me hope, and that's what counts. Barron nodded, his resolve growing stronger. He decided to channel his frustration into something positive, something that would make the critics fall silent forever. What he planned next would truly surprise everyone. Barron organized an art exhibition to showcase Mr. Grayson's new works. The event was held at one of the most prestigious galleries in New York City. Invitations were sent to art enthusiasts, philanthropists, and the media. Mr. Grayson was nervous. What if they don't like my work? He asked Barron. They'll love it, Barron replied confidently, because it comes from your heart. On the night of the exhibition, the gallery was filled with people. Barron's family was there, along with influential figures from around the world. As guests walked through the gallery, silent tears streamed down their faces. Each painting told a story of pain, resilience, and hope. One painting, in particular, captivated everyone's attention. It depicted the moment when Barron helped Mr. Grayson after he fell. The emotion in every brushstroke was so powerful that even the harshest critics fell silent. As the exhibition came to a close, Mr. Grayson received a standing ovation. He looked at Barron, tears brimming in his eyes. You haven't just given me a second chance, he said. You've given me a reason to live. Barron smiled, knowing he had done the right thing. But the story wasn't over. One final twist would make this moment even more unforgettable. As the applause for Mr. Grayson's exhibition echoed through the gallery, Barron felt a deep sense of pride, but he couldn't shake the feeling that there was one last thing he needed to do. After the event, as guests began to leave, Barron walked over to Mr. Grayson. There's something I need to tell you. His voice trembled slightly. The moment I saw you fall, it reminded me of someone I lost. Mr. Grayson looked at him, surprised. Who was it? He asked gently. Barron lowered his head, tears welling up as he continued. My mother used to talk about my grandfather, Fred Trump. He struggled with so much in his later years, especially with his health. My mother said that sometimes he felt invisible, like no one cared about him anymore. I was too young to help him then, but when I saw you, I realized I had a chance to do something for someone else." Mr. Grayson was silent, for the first time truly understanding why Barron's actions were so sincere. It wasn't just kindness, it was a deeply personal connection. Barron took a deep breath. "Helping you makes me feel closer to him." But the night wasn't over. An unexpected surprise was waiting. As the art exhibition concluded, a member of Barron's security team handed him an envelope. "This is for you, sir," the guard said. Barron opened the envelope and found a handwritten letter. It was from Mr. Grayson's daughter, Mariah. "I watched the video of you helping my father," the letter read. "I haven't spoken to him in years. We had an argument, and I thought he no longer cared about me. But when I saw him smile, when I saw his paintings, I remembered the father I once knew. Thank you for bringing him back to life." Barron was deeply moved. He handed the letter to Mr. Grayson. Tears streamed down his face as he read it. "Mariah," he whispered, his voice choked. "I thought I had lost her forever." Barron made a quick decision. "We're going to find her," he said. With the help of the family's resources, Barron arranged for Mariah to meet her father the next day. The reunion was full of emotion, tears, hugs, and apologies. For Barron, seeing them reunited was the most precious moment of all. Barron's story of kindness had come full circle. What had started as a simple act of goodwill had grown into something much larger. A second chance for someone who seemed to have lost everything, and a reunion of a broken family. The story continued to spread across the internet, with people everywhere sharing their thoughts and emotions. The media reported on the reunion, calling it a miracle of kindness. Social media was flooded with heartfelt messages, as people shared their own stories of how small acts had changed their lives. As for Barron, he remained humble. "I didn't do anything special," he told the reporters. "I just saw someone who needed help and acted on it." But to everyone else, his actions were extraordinary. They served as a reminder to the world that even the smallest gestures can create waves of hope and healing. Barron's story became a guiding light in a world that sometimes feels divided. It was proof that kindness can heal, inspire, and bring people together. This story serves as a powerful reminder of the impact of kindness and how a small gesture can lead to profound change. Have you ever helped someone without expecting anything in return, only to unintentionally change their life? Share your story in the comments. Your voice could inspire others and spread the values of compassion and humanity. If you find this story meaningful, don't hesitate to share it with friends and family so we can collectively spread the message of kindness and the strength of human connection. Thank you for supporting the channel. Please like, share, and subscribe to receive the latest updates. The stories are collected from various sources and do not represent any individual or organization. They are shared with the intention of spreading human values in life and have been rewritten with the support of AI. If there are any mistakes, kindly overlook them with understanding. Wishing you all the best in life.